Senator Markey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hicks, in your testimony, you say it is appropriate for a new AUMF to create a most stringent notification requirement for the President's use of ground forces in combating terrorist groups and recommend language included in HJ Res 100 that gives the President expansive authority to send our servicemen and women into combat as long as he notifies Congress as soon as possible. What is your perspective on whether we should include in a new AUMF a requirement that the President notify Congress within 48 hours after he substantially enlarges the level of U.S. armed forces in a foreign country where combat appears likely?
I think the fundamental challenge for a new AUMF in all aspects is this balancing of ensuring the flexibility the commander needs on the ground, the National Command Authority needs to authorize force in defense of U.S. interests, and the appropriate role of congressional oversight. I think that the bill put forward by Representative Schiff with regard to notification on ground forces used in a combat role is an example of an appropriate balance. It's a notification. It allows Congress to have the earliest possible opportunity to start to engage in the conversation over authorities upon which that is based, over a discussion of resources being expended, principles, et cetera. But it also doesn't really create a burden for the commander. And so I think that's a reasonable way forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bellinger, the use of targeted killings, most prominently using armed drones, is a form of use of armed force and ought to fall under the Congress's war powers. Mr. Bellinger, what is your perspective on the interplay between the multiple sources of authority for the government's targeted killing programs and congressional oversight of these operations under the War Powers Act?
The executive branch is carrying out, as I understand it, drone attacks, targeted killings under a variety of different authorities. Some of them by the military or under the AUMF. Some of them may be under intelligence authorities. Conceivably under the President's Article 2 authority, although I think most of it is probably authorized by Congress.
So you suggest that we revise the War Powers Act. How would, in your view, a new authorization deal with this issue? What would be the recommendations you would make in terms of the restrictions, the notification that would have to be given to Congress?
Right. I don't know that they would address the drone issue. I think you mean more generally just...
the targeted killing issue, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure the War Powers Resolution changes that most people think are necessary would address the drone issue. They have more to do with the 60-day clock.
Okay, so you don't think it would have, and if we revise the War Powers Act, it wouldn't relate to the targeted killings policy that we have?
Of course, you can revise it any way you want to revise
I appreciate
it. But I don't think I would, or I have heard anybody say that the War Powers Resolution flaws are things that really are related to drones. They are related more to the problem with the 60-day clock and presidents stretching their authority to avoid the 60-day clock in the War Powers Resolution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.